The stage lights were blazing brilliantly as Renzo stood in the center of the last episode of season 27 of The Voice, and Philadelphia's very own Rockel Fighter, a 34-year-old science teacher by day and a musical alchemist by night, had poured every ounce of his soul into this moment. From above, a constellation of dreams was suspended in the air, and the audience's electric pulse was synchronized with his heartbeat, which sounded like a drumming. He was in third place when he heard Carson Daly's voice echoing around the studio as he announced the results, and the words kept repeating in his mind. In a tournament that had become his crucible, his canvas, and his confessional, he finished in third place, which was a bittersweet bronze after not placing first or second before arriving at this moment. Renzo had a difficult journey. He was known to his students as Professor Renzo and to the rest of the world as a father of three. His adventure started many years ago when he competed on American Idol season 16 under the alias Dennis Lorenzo and advanced all the way to the top 9. His voice was the fire, but that particular incident was the spark that lit it. Since his blind audition, when he was given a spot on the team for his gritty rendition of Leonard Skyner's Simple Man, Renzo had been a powerful presence. Although John Legend had previously performed on stage with artists like The Game and Teddy Riley, this was a new experience for him. It gave him the chance to leave his mark on the hearts of millions of people nationwide. The season had been a wild ride filled with blind auditions, battle rounds, knockouts, playoffs, and live performances. His voice, which was a chameleon that could adapt to any obstacle that was put his way, was a blend of the velvety sound of R&B and the harsh edge of rock. It had undoubtedly been a thrilling journey. Renzo's versatility in his performances was genuinely astounding. Every single song was like a brushstroke on his canvas, painting a picture of an artist who refused to be limited to a specific genre early on his coach's career. Billy Eilish's Happy Than Ever was the one he tackled with emotional depth, Hoser's Too Sweet was performed with swagger, and Aerosmith's Dream On was performed with a boldness that dared to confront Steven Tyler's famous howl. His promise was acknowledged by John Legend, who called him his superstar whose vision transcended the boundaries of the competition. Legend had said to Renzo after his playoff performance, "It just feels like you're already a star." The climax of Renzo's story was the final, which was aired on May 19 in 2020 to 2022. For his up-tempo performance, he chose Lenny Kravitz's Fly Away, and for his ballad, he chose Jeff Buckley's Lover You Shouldn't Come Over. Both of these songs were picked because they perfectly captured his spirit. It was a sound explosion of freedom and fire, and Fly Away was no exception. With his voice rising above the throbbing rhythm, Renzo stalked the stage, earning Michael Bubble's praise for being faultless and John Legend's comment that he was the show starter as a man who seemed to channel the spirit of rock gods from the past while making his own way. The audience screamed, carried up in his intensity, but it was in the ballad that Renzo really revealed his innermost feelings. Although his performance was visceral, almost to the point of being too raw, and there were moments of pitchiness that some observers noticed, it was precisely these flaws that gave it a human quality as he sang of love that had been lost and lessons learned. It was a song of longing and sorrow that required the listener to be vulnerable. Renzo's voice cracked with grief and his eyes glistened with beauty. Legend described it as stunning, demonstrating Renzo's ability to transform every note into a narrative. For Renzo, it was a means of expressing his gratitude to his family, especially his daughters Tatum, Aaliyah, and Neela, who were in the audience and watching with proud expressions on their faces. At one point during the performance, his daughter broke down in tears, a moment that devastated the hearts of people across the United States. On May 20th, when the results were announced, the tension was immediately apparent on stage. There were 5 finalists. Team Kelsey Adam was represented by Renzo, who stood in for Team Legend Jalen Johnston, David, who stood in for Team Bubble, Jaden Cree, who represented Team Bubbly, and Lucia Flores-Wiseman, who represented Team Adam. The votes cast by the viewers determined their fate, as it was discovered that Jaden Cree had placed 5th, Lucia Flores-Wiseman had placed 4th, and 3rd place went to When Renzo's name was called, a rumbling of discontent crept throughout the audience even as they applauded. Social media users vented their ire by sharing statements like "Renzo was the best from the start" and "Renzo Gamil Rob," which reinforced the belief that he should have received more. John Legend, who was clearly moved, whispered to Renzo that he should have won, a tacit nod to his finalists' outstanding performance. While Adam David, the first person to ever win an instant save competition, brought home the trophy for Team Bubblet, Jalen Johnston finished in second place. However, even though the victory was historic, many people thought it was an upset. Some thought that Renzo's consistency, range, and stage presence were better than those of his rivals, but finishing in third place was no small feat. Instead of concentrating only on the placement, his perseverance, ability to engage audiences, and unwavering commitment to his career were all demonstrated throughout this historic event. When Renzo was backstage, his family was standing with him and his girls were clinging to his signs, but Renzo was more focused on the adventure itself. As Adam David's confetti was falling, he thought back on the sacrifices he had made, such as staying up late in the studio to spend time with his kids and balancing teaching and performance. This was before the playoffs. Although third place was not the winner, it was unquestionably confirmation that his voice and story resonated with people. He had stated that making it to the lives would imply that everything suffered was not in vain. The following passage from his 2023 Instagram post stuck in his mind. "My family is the one thing that always makes me happy. They were his inspiration, his anchorage, and his way of thinking." Renzo's journey during The Voice was more than simply a contest. It was a statement that he showed the United States of America that a teacher could be a rock star when he performed, bridging the gap between generations and emotions, and a black artist could successfully blend R&B and rock. A dad may also try his hardest to inspire his children to follow their dreams. Some considered his farewell lament as the most authentic manifestation of his artistry, while others criticized it for having pitch problems. Despite his imperfections, he was sincere. Even though it was a milestone, Renzo showed no signs of resentment as he left the stage. He had performed with John Legend, Harry Styles, and Pompeii by Bastille among the top 12 artists. His performance had brought tears to the eyes of his family, coaches, and fans alike. It had been shown that his voice could rock walls and stir souls. He had a bright future ahead of him, full of new music, new stages, and new stories worth telling. The artist, the parent, and the professor.